I'm Vicki Hogarth, and welcome to Southwest Magazine. A new community-wide reading program is inviting people of all ages in St. Andrews to come together through books. Spearheaded by the Spindrifters, St. Andrews Reads will explore a new theme each year through 4 books from different genres, with readings, discussions, and author events held throughout the spring and fall. The inaugural theme celebrates maritime authors, and the initiative has already grown into a partnership with Goose Lane Editions, Bucca Dell'Acqua, and the St. Andrews Public Library. Joining me to explain how it will all work and how the entire community can take part is one of the organizers, Barbara Roberts. Barbara, thank you so much for coming into the studio and sitting down with me today.
Oh, thanks so much, Vicki, for inviting me. I'm so excited about St. Andrews Reads.
Well,
it's a great opportunity.
I can't wait to hear more about it, because we do have a literary roundtable coming to town this fall as well. But St. Andrews Reads is its own initiative, spearheaded by the Spindrifters, which is fabulous, but for everyone in the community. So tell us a little bit about what exactly it is and what we should expect.
Okay, so what we want to do is explore a theme. For instance, you mentioned maritime authors for this year, and things like environment, climate change, immigration, other issues that people are interested in, but do it from 4 different genres, so there's something for everyone. I've been part of other book read programs that focus on one book, one community. That's what they're called. And I thought, you know, one book isn't enough for a community like this. We have a lot of different kinds of interests in this community, so we should look at a themed plan through 4 different books.
Okay, so when it comes to the 4 books, can you take part by, let's say there's maybe just one of the 4 I want to read, or maybe I want to get involved in all of them? How does it work in terms of the participants from the community and how they get involved?
Well, that's why there are 4 books, so you can read any one that appeals to you, because there'll be 4 different types. This year we have fiction, we have memoir, we have poetry, and historical fiction. So whatever appeals to you, you're welcome to read. And then we'll bring the authors in to have a discussion at the end of a period of being able to read the book, talk to the community, bring in questions, and talk about the issue across those 4 books.
How cool. So when it comes to making those selections, I know you teamed up with Goose Lane this year to kick off St. Andrews Reads. Tell us a little bit about that partnership and why it made sense for the inaugural St. Andrews Reads.
Okay. Well, we started planning, I started thinking about this about 2 or 3 years ago, just because I had been part of One Book, One Community at Michigan State University, where they brought in Sonia Sotomayor and her biography. They brought in a book about the incarceration industry in the United States and that author. But again, it was only one book. And so the whole freshman class got the copy of the book, and then the whole community could read and participate with the author. And I thought, okay, we're going to get 4 books in different ways, and we're going to do this across types so that everybody has something that interests them. But then how do you actually do that, right? So we had a small planning committee. Inga Noenger and Peggy Fothergill and I got together, and Peggy had a connection with through Sheila Blograve at Goose Lane. And we said, well, we need to talk to a publisher that knows, like, what is an author honoraria? How do you cover travel? What sort of format should we use? So we reached out to Goose Lane, and we started talking to Suzanne Alexander, their publisher, and she got extremely excited about our little project and said, you know, we have many new launches coming up this year with maritime authors. And so we thought, well, a new launch would be super appealing, and they were willing to help us foot the bill to bring those authors to St. Andrews and cover their accommodation and travel, and we could cover their honoraria through through Spindrifters, and it just grew from there.
Wow. I mean, I gotta say, for the authors to get basically a retreat in St. Andrews as well, I mean, what an opportunity. I know I am biased for saying it, but I think we are also a wonderful community for any artist to get to come to as well. So I'm sure the excitement with Goose Lane is from a real place of knowing the community of St. Andrews. Can you tell us about those books that you picked? Do you know right now which 4 are going to be our inaugural books?
I know the authors, and I know the books.
Okay, what can you tell us now, Barbara?
Well, it's a new launch, and most of them haven't even been published yet.
So how exciting! Okay, so this is really exciting. So
Yes.
these are books that are also going to be, in many ways, new to the world that we get to discover with the authors.
That's right.
So this is almost like a preview that we get that's more exciting than anywhere else, because we have the authors coming here.
That's right. So the launches are just a couple weeks after the publication. So shortly after the books hit the shelves, which means you have to get on it and read them.
Okay.
Then they'll be here, and then of course the goal would be to have people reading the books in the community. You know, you see somebody in Honeybeans reading one of them, and you're reading another one, and you have a nice opportunity to share ideas about the theme, and you know, how did you like that one? Maybe I'll read the next one. So really it's about generating community and engagement in reading and using those opportunities to explore a theme that you might want to know more about from a perspective that relates to you easily. So, the books.
Okay.
The first one is John Tatry's Piece by Chocolate. And that book has been out for a while, but he has produced a second edition and updated it. It's a bit longer. It has more detail about the family after the last edition. So it's a new launch in that sense, that it's a new Piece by Chocolate expanded story.
And for most people, I think most people in the Maritimes know a little bit, at least a little bit, about the Piece by Chocolate, the Syrian family that came here as refugees and initiated this incredible business, Peace Through Chocolate, fundraising through chocolate. And it's been such an incredible community builder here in the Maritimes. So
Absolutely.
a new edition, and then we'll have the author here as well.
Yes.
So people can ask questions.
Hopefully some chocolate.
And hopefully some chocolate. I have a feeling that will have to come with the book.
I think so.
So that author will be here as well with an updated edition of Piece by Chocolate.
That's right, and that's happening on October 23rd at Sunbury Shores at 5 o'clock.
Okay. So that's just one of 4. Are you
That's
able to tell us more yet? Or is it going to be a release over time?
No, we have everybody booked.
Okay.
So the next one is November 20th, and that's going to be Will Ferguson.
Okay.
Will Ferguson is a well-known award-winning author, and his St. Andrews connection is he used to live here for some time, I'm not sure how long. So we included him in our Maritime author selection, and his book is Officer Shamuda and the Disappearing Girl. So it's a mystery. And that's all I can say.
Gotta love a mystery.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that will be out in, I think, early September, and then he'll be here in October on part of his book tour through the Maritimes.
Oh, how exciting. Okay.
It is.
So, and a lot of these books too, I know we've got 2 more to talk about, but our local bookstore, Bucca Dell'Acqua, will be also supplying these books, so you can pre-order there.
That's right.
If you want to make sure you support local too.
Absolutely.
How incredible.
Yes.
Okay.
So Goose Lane will look after getting the books to Bucca Dell'Acqua, and they'll have them available for sale.
So whether you want one or all 4, you can just let Kate and Dominic know, who've been an incredible new addition to our community as well.
Absolutely. We're so excited to be able to work with them on this too.
Okay,
it's good for everyone.
I know that my Natalie Sturgeon in the back, our editor of the Courier, who runs Silent Book Club St. Andrews, is probably dying to know. I can hear her almost in the back of the room asking what the next 2 books are.
So in the winter, probably in March, we're going to be having Sue Sinclair, who is also coming for the Literary Roundtable, and she's putting out a new book as well, and she'll be reading poetry. And our local poet, Carol Martiniaco, will be doing the interview with her and the community discussion. That's also going to be hopefully at Sunbury Shores. And then the 4th book will be Beth Pounding. And Beth's new book is called The Bird Healer's Daughter. And that will be coming out in the early spring, and she'll be joining us for a discussion about that.
Wow. So this really carries on throughout the course of 2026, 2027. So
It
it's
does.
an initiative that is all year long, and then goes into the next year following.
Hopefully, yes. So we decided that it would be good to do this kind of activity in the winter and the fall, because there's so much going on in St. Andrews in the summer. We don't want to compete with that. And we wanted to give people an opportunity to build on that community connection in the winter months when we see each other, but it's pretty quiet in St. Andrews, and so we thought this would give us all a chance to have something to talk about, something to do together that doesn't compete with the big summer season.
Right. I mean, there's this beauty of the St. Andrews winter that I think once you've spent enough time here, you grow to love. It's that cocooning and creativity and community that I think lets us be the extroverts we are in summer. But winter is such a beautiful vibe here of being very community oriented and very involved in the arts. We kind of
thought initially that maybe the authors would just want to come to St. Andrews, and maybe it wouldn't actually cost much travel because it's such a desirable place, but we do need a little help to cover gas these days. So we want to thank Goose Lane for helping get our folks here.
So I want to get your experience, though, when you were doing One Book, One Community back in your home state of Michigan.
Yes.
What was it about that experience that was so impactful and made you think we should be doing this in your new home in the Maritimes?
Okay. It just seemed like a really great opportunity for people to share ideas across generations, particularly with the incoming first-year class at Michigan State and the whole town of East Lansing being also a very literary community like St. Andrews. And I thought, you know, as we look at what Spindrifters is offering now that COVID is over and we can do some more things, maybe doing something that would bring people together around an issue that is of interest and contemporary news items that would help us explore those things together. And that's certainly how it worked in East Lansing. I remember the reception that we put on for the author had people chummily talking and sharing their thoughts about the book ahead of his talk. Then we had a large speak in the auditorium, and people came and listened to him read a little bit, so we got a little of that firsthand author experience. And we had a nice interview to bring out some of the issues and why he wrote it the way he did and so on. And then there were questions from the audience too. So there was a very participatory element to it that wasn't just like going to hear somebody read and then thank them and then leave. You know, it's going to be very participatory. We want people to bring questions. We want people to send us questions and make sure that we cover their interests in each of the events.
So set the stage for us when it comes to these author experiences. We'll be getting our books in advance, Bucca Dell'Acqua to read, and sometimes it'll be a shorter window because we have the authors coming really quickly after the book is being launched, which is extremely cool. Sunbury Shores is a location for a lot of these talks, is beautiful as well. What's the experience of those author events going to be like?
So we'd like people to come at around 5 or so and settle in to listen. And hopefully the author will have some selections chosen that they'd like to share with us in their own voice. And we'll have an interviewer who brings forth some questions and talks about deeper issues or compares this work with previous works, perhaps especially with John Tatry. Susan Laidlaw will be doing that interview. She's one of our local published authors herself. And so she'll have some interesting questions for him, I think, about how the family's situation has evolved since the first edition, and get him talking about that a bit. But then we'd like to open the floor to questions from the audience and have people share their thoughts and ideas and questions. And then afterwards, of course, there will be a bit of a reception. We'll have some hors d'oeuvres and some beverages so people can talk to him individually and directly, and with other people who enjoyed that book.
Well, as we say around here, it takes a village, and we know part of our role at CHCO is to help get word out. When it comes to the author events, is it a ticketed event? How do people ensure they have a seat if they want to make sure they get a chance to ask questions or just hear from their favorite author?
Come early.
Okay.
It's not ticketed. There is no charge. And we'd just love to welcome people as soon as they want to get there. And I don't know exactly how many people Sunbury Shores holds, but you know, we're hoping for a good turnout.
We are taping this shortly after the passing of the late, great Dolly Parton, who did so much for literacy. And I know that you hope to have a lot of the younger people in our community involved as well. And what I do love about Spindrifters is why Spindrifters itself is, I guess, more the 55 plus group in town.
That's
so
right.
much of what you do includes the whole community and really stresses that intergenerational way of life we tend to have in the Maritimes that makes it so special.
We do.
How do you hope to involve those younger generations in getting involved in St. Andrews Reads?
Well, we're hoping that people in the community who might be working with youth on projects will pick up on some of the themes maybe in the English program at the high school, or in history or politics, or someplace where those themes can be reflected in the book that we've chosen. Maybe the high school students and the college students at NBCC would read the book as well and incorporate that into their curricula. We're hoping that maybe some of us would be able to help with their projects, and certainly that we may be able to arrange some time with one of the authors, if there was a project, to come and visit those folks who are engaged.
What was the feedback from the authors when they were invited to take part in this? Obviously, you had some quick yeses.
We did.
So I'm curious to hear what both the publisher and the authors themselves thought about the opportunity.
I would have to say, from what I heard from Goose Lane, they did all the arranging, is that they were across the board thrilled. I think John Tatry has been here before. He and his wife are coming. I think they might be celebrating a personal event. And they're taking 2 nights to be in St. Andrews. Will Ferguson now lives in Calgary and was very excited to come back to where he had lived in St. Andrews. And of course, Sue Sinclair is from Fredericton, so any opportunity to jet down to St. Andrews, I'm sure she'll enjoy. And Beth Pounding is very local as well, and I think she's looking forward to coming.
I love the Maritime authors theme for the first St. Andrews Reads for a lot of reasons, because it comes at a time, I think, when so many of us are not just supporting Canadian, but supporting local a lot too. When it comes to choosing the themes for the upcoming years, how will you go about deciding what you want the theme to be for the year? Are you already considering what to take on next year, for instance?
An excellent question. That was the topic at our last meeting. So yes, this got going really very quickly. We met with Goose Lane in March. We met again in May. We nailed the project and they approached the authors, and here we are. So with this year really rolling out quite happily, we're looking at next year, looking at environmental issues sort of writ large. Maybe some climate books, maybe some environmental stewardship books. Certainly Fundy Bay writers are represented on our committee by Carol Martiniaco and myself. And we have done our book of eco-lyrics that was on sale at Sunbury Shores. So eco-stewardship, looking at different aspects of the environment through, again, many faces. Poetry, fiction, nonfiction, whatever we can find among maritime writers.
Do you have a dream author that you would love one day to bring to town? I will throw it out there that if you can ever get David Sedaris, I have seen him 3 times, but if I could see him in St. Andrews, the closest I've seen him is St. John. I know that's a dream down the road, but I'm putting that one out to the Spindrifters. If you can get David Sedaris here,
okay.
I will be forever grateful.
Duly noted.
He did have a new book this year.
Okay, well, we'll have to go find his publisher. I do have an author I would be my dream, and that's Sally Armstrong. And I'm sure you're familiar with her work as a journalist. And she also wrote a fascinating book called The 9 Lives of Charlotte Taylor, which is about her ancestor, who was the first white woman to settle in northeastern New Brunswick in the Miramichi. And she has quite a wild tale in terms of being one of the first women to actually hold her own land claim, and going all the way to Fredericton from the Miramichi in the winter to secure her land that she would have had because she lost her husband. And it's a very interesting story of early immigration and settlement and all of the issues that go with that, and the mixed relations with the American Revolution and the indigenous populations of the day. It's a great book, and I would love to have her come if we focus on immigration sometime.
When it comes to how books enrich our lives, how would you put that into words? How books have been there for you? I know there have been times in my own life, times when I've moved, and books sometimes are your only friend, and
Absolutely.
you can escape in them. But for people who haven't really delved into that passion, who might be new, saying, okay, St. Andrews Reads, it's been a while since I've read a novel or sat down to pick up a book and not just read an article online. How do you express what books have brought to your life to people who might be rekindling their love of literature?
Oh my goodness, Vicki, that's an enormous question. I'm always amazed at how much I glean from a book about not just the story, but the context of the story. So you're learning about, if it's historical fiction, you're learning about what life was like at that time, and what were the trials and tribulations of the real people living in those times, and what contributed to their resilience. And we all need a lot of resilience right now. And so learning how other people got through tough times with a very personal take on it has always been an enriching experience and a learning experience for me. I also really love the beautiful language and looking at how writers convey their ideas. The turn of phrase that I read 4 times over because it just says it so well, or it pulls out an emotion that I can say, you know what, that's exactly how I feel, or I've been there, I'm going through that too. How did this character cope with it? Myriad ways that literature enriches our lives and teaches us things about life and about one another, and the empathy that you glean from someone else's story and enables you to understand your neighbor or the person you meet on an airplane, right, or when you're traveling and you say, oh, they're facing what I read about in that book.
Wow. An enormous question that I don't think could have been answered more beautifully. So Barbara, thank you for that answer. As you see St. Andrews Reads roll out, not just this year, but what your hopes and dreams are for it down the road, what would you like to see this become as it becomes part of the fabric of the community?
That's very exciting too, because the first answer, of course, is I'd like to see it survive a second year. But I think if it became part of the fabric of the community, it's a rich opportunity for us to share ideas, to have something that brings us together, even across strangers. You know, when you see someone walking down the street with one of our books in their hand and you have one of the other books, and you can say, oh, are you going to that author event? You know, what did you think about what they talked about, you know, in Fire Weather or in, you know, the sea ocean books that relate so much to our community? What did you learn about sea level rise, and what can we do about that? There's another book of a maritime author I'd like to see us bring in, and that's Riel Nason, who wrote about The Town That Drowned, about Mactaquac. And there are huge issues in there about politics and the environment and expropriation and the better good of the whole community versus one community's vested interests. And it's written from a 14-year-old's point of view. So it's very engaging and very enlightening about the lived experience of people whose communities are overtaken for, quote, the greater good. Wow. So being able to engage in those conversations will take you from Riel's book, for instance, to how do we deal with forestry? How do we decide on issues that affect everyone, but, you know, may mean forestry issues or water conservation issues, or, you know, within this time, what are we going to do with limited resources, and whose rights prevail? So rich conversations that can come from the opportunity to explore through our maritime authors.
I want to point out that Spindrifters is one of my absolute all-time favorite groups, and I know that it's generally described as 55 plus. But the amount that Spindrifters, I have the exercise classes as my neighbors here at CHCO, so I know a lot of what you get up to. But what I think a lot of people don't realize is how much work you do in the community in general. What is it about St. Andrews Reads that made you want to incorporate all ages in the way that you are, and making sure that the community is well aware that this is for everyone? What is it about the intermingling of generations, people from different eras coming together over one book, that can be so empowering for a community?
Mm-hmm. Well, I have to admit, Spindrifters does have a 50-plus mandate.
It's only 50 plus? I'm almost in, Barbara. I'm almost in. Okay.
Come on in. And so we started with that as a focus and sort of as an opportunity to engage adults in the community, as I said, to engage around issues and literature together. But at the same time, we want it to be really inclusive. We don't want people to feel like they can't come because they're not 50 yet. You can come, Vicki.
I'm almost legitimately in. So.
Yeah. We wanted people to be able to tag on to it, like in the schools. That was one of the suggestions that was made in generating the project. And we just feel like we don't want to close the doors. So how do we make it accessible and interesting for anyone who wants to dive in with us?
I'm also, I think that you constantly, as Spindrifters, show people that the 50 plus age group can be the most progressive, innovative, community-minded group of people, and I am forever in awe of the amount of work, also the amount of fun you guys have. I see you walk by my house every morning, and I love the walking group too. So tell me a little bit about the overall vibe of Spindrifters as they take on this initiative. It's quite a big initiative.
It is. So I think it really stems from the notion that we used to bring in speakers when we could before COVID, and that was before my Spindrifter time. But it's getting very expensive to do that because of the cost of gas and transportation and all those things. And people are getting really, really busy now that COVID is over. So as we look at what we can do at this point and what is our identity and what are we striving to give the community, we have lots of great things that we do now. But how can we get back to that, sort of bring in someone who's interesting and things that we can share talking about? And what would that look like? And so this idea seemed to meet those needs, to provide the community with an opportunity like a speaker or a workshop, but kind of in a different form, and that you can do most of the work at home on your own time. Okay. And you can choose which books you engage with and choose how much you engage, but there's still fomenting throughout the community interest and conversation. And that's building community and building engagement and facilitating participation with one another.
Well, I'm going to throw out to the community that our own Natalie Sturgeon here runs the Silent Book Club St. Andrews. You can find it on Facebook. They meet every 2 weeks, and you can read whatever you want. So it's a perfect opportunity to get started when these books are available. If you want a place where you can bring whatever you're reading and sit and read with your community, they have a Facebook group, and they meet every 2 weeks. I'm sure the Spindrifters will keep word out about books coming out. But if people want to get in touch with you, Barbara, or with Spindrifters in general to find out a little bit about what's coming up next, or maybe they have suggestions for years ahead, themes they'd like to see, what's the best way to reach out?
You can email me directly at robertsolutions@gmail.com, and you can go on the Spindrifters Facebook page or the web page and contact us through there.
And if you can qualify, I'm telling this at home, if you qualify to be in Spindrifters, you really need to check them out. I am constantly ready to be a part of the walking group. And I know I've said I can be an honorary member, but I'm almost a real member.
Well, and you can walk without being a member.
And when we end the show, Barbara, are there any final words you'd like to leave with the community before St. Andrews Reads launches?
I'm just really excited, and I hope people get excited with us and join in with us and read the books and come. And I just want to thank very much my committee members. As I mentioned at the beginning, Inga Noenger and Peggy Fothergill helped us get it off the ground. Goose Lane Editions, and with Susan Laidlaw and Sandy Almson and Carol Martiniaco and Phil Brewer, we're going to launch this puppy this fall.
Cannot wait. When you have the first book ready to launch, please come back and let's do a first talk about the first few chapters once the first book is ready. I look forward to that.
You got it.
My guest today has been Barbara Roberts from Spindrifters, who are launching St. Andrews Reads this fall. I'm Vicki Hogarth. Thank you for watching Southwest Magazine.
Southwest Magazine is a news and public affairs production of CHCO Television.